And welcome to a Creature Guy live stream. And for those of you that don't know, my name is Ethan. So let's put up the first set of articles. Let's get into some fun animal news. Okay, so starting off with from Newsweek.com. Yeah, this individual seems to be in a lot of trouble. An artist's impression of a tiny pterodactylus hatchling struggling against a raging tropical storm. That's interesting because I was thinking that if this was a pterodactylus, it was close to full grown, but usually a pterodactyl's full size, so they're quite small. They're only about 2 feet in length or less than zero point 0.7 meters and probably only weigh a few ounces. So most people tend to think of the long crested pteranodon that also lived much far after the pterodactylus or pterodactyl first evolved. So pterodactyl existed in Germany around 150 to 155 million years ago, whereas pteranodon existed over in Canada around 75 million years ago at the late Cretaceous. So Pterodactylus also would have had a much longer skull compared to its body size. So maybe when they were younger, they were a bit more roundish or circular in structure. Let's take a look at what happened. Two baby pterosaurs that died 150 million years ago have helped scientists uncover the prehistoric event that claimed their lives and shaped their preservation. Researchers from the University of Leicester say the fossilized remains of the tiny flying reptiles, nicknamed Lucky and Lucky 2, show injuries consistent with death in a violent storm. I noticed that with creatures that have this name. Their life is the complete opposite. Um, Their study, published in the journal Current Biology, suggests that these infant pterosaurs were struck down by powerful gusts of wind that fractured their wings mid flight and sent them plummeting into a stormy lagoon. Their bones were later preserved in the fine muds of what is now the Solnhofen limestones of Germany. The Solnhofen limestones are an example of the so called conservate Lagerstätten, in which fossils are extraordinarily well preserved. So during this time, you probably had certain medium-sized species of dinosaurs roaming the area, probably predators that were somewhere around 20 to 25 feet in length, or pushing somewhere between 6 to 8 meters, and weighing about 1.5 tons, and probably certain species of medium-sized long-necked sauropod in the region. So members of the Diplodocid family, probably weighing somewhere between 10 to 20 tons. The discovery sheds light on a long-standing mystery: why fossils of young, delicate pterosaurs are common in the Solnhofen deposits, while adult specimens that typically fossilize easier are rare and usually fragmentary. Okay, that's probably why they named the two organisms Luckies, or the two pterosaurs, just because they're they're very well intact, or just very well preserved, which is kind of deranged, but I'm thankful for it too. Okay, so let's see. Researchers now believe storms not only caused many of these deaths, but also created the unique conditions necessary to preserve the small body so well. Pterosaurs had incredibly lightweight skeletons. Hollow, thin walled bones are ideal for flight, but terrible for fossilization. The odds of preserving one are already slim, and finding a fossil that tells you how the animal died is even rarer. Wow. Of a young pterodactylus, that's incredible. I mean, there have been a wide range of smaller species of pterosaurs, such as different members of the Ramphorhynchid lineage of pterosaurs that have been preserved. Like, pretty much the whole body is intact, besides maybe the wing membrane, but this is quite exquisite. This is really good to see. There might even be certain pigmofibers indicating that animal had feathers that were preserved as well. Lucky and Lucky 2, both with wingspans under 8 inches, or what is that, 12 centimeters? 15 centimeters? Are you seriously looking at me for that answer? I was just kind of staring. Um, show near identical injuries, a clean slanted fracture in the humerus, so the, upper arm bone, one in the left knee, the other in the right. The symmetrical nature of the breaks, along with their angle and lack of other skeletal damage, indicates the hatchlings likely encountered powerful winds that twisted their wings, breaking the bones in flight. Ouch. Gosh. Once incapacitated, the baby pterosaurs drowned in the storm-driven waves and quickly sank to the lagoon's bottom, where fine sediments rapidly buried their remains. This fast burial shielded their bones from scavengers and decay, leaving the skeletons in pristine condition. Stonhofen limestones are known for their detailed fossil preservation, but the prevalence of small young pterosaurs there had long puzzled paleontologists. So, fossilization typically favors large, robust animals, making the Stonhofen babies a scientific anomaly. Yeah, tell that to an Argentinosaurus, who we still have not found the skull of. We found a handful of bones from the dinosaur, which was the largest it's the largest dinosaur to date so far, so reaching a length of somewhere around 120 feet or pushing, uh, what, 30 meters? And probably reaching a weight of somewhere around 85 tons, but only a handful of bones have been discovered. So, there have been quite a few smaller species of animal with completely intact fossils. So, it's now understood that larger adults may have avoided the storms or decayed before fossilization could even occur. Uh, probably in this instance. Okay, so that's it of that. Well, that was very unfortunate for these small pterosaur hatchlings, but, very nice preservation. Let's go to the next one.
It would have died anyway at this point.
Um, yeah, yeah, it was unfortunate. So from discoverwildlife.com, another one? Over the next hour, it's dispatched, dismantled, and butchered piece by piece. This may be the most savage ambush attack we've ever heard. Hmm. Discover a delicate alliance between shrub, fungus, and tiny forest guardians in the Amazon understory. Well, we know that in reality, I mean, the primates that inhabit the region are not very tall of any group.
I don't think that's a primate.
Nope. Oh boy. Though they that though this praying mantis seems to share their culture.
You sure that's what that is?
Well, I mean, they do have those rituals of to become
I mean, I just it looked like a grasshopper.
oh, yeah, well oh, you're right. Okay, that's not praying mantis. Praying mantis have a much smaller face compared to their body size, different shaped antenna, much longer limbs compared to their body size. Their body's much higher off the ground, so this is a yeah, some type of a locust of some sort. So somewhere in the Amazon understory, beneath a great forest canopy, a cricket leaps onto the stem of a shrub. It's the last leap it will ever make. It never gets to flex its leg again. It's stuck like fluff with Velcro. Dozens of tiny jaws appear on the plant's surface, each grabbing part of the unfortunate insect's body, holding it back. Velcro can be quite irritating. But let's see. Over the next hour, the spread-eagled cricket is dispatched, dismantled, and butchered piece by piece. Its body vanishes seemingly to the plant's tissues. Yes, the plant itself is not some kind of monstrous carnivorous chimera. Instead, the insect's brutal treatment is meted out by the plant's own private army of ants. While fascinating, there's nothing unusual about a relationship between ants and a plant. I wouldn't say it's too common, but there are a wide range of species of ants that do have a symbiotic relationship with different types. Their lives have become intertwined in many ways, and there are so many examples that such relationships even have a name. Myrmecophyly. The level of intimacy expressed in this relationship varies widely. Some plants offer a bribe of sugar or protein treats to recruit ants to work as a security force or seed dispersal agency. Others provide accommodation. And it's kind of like what certain caterpillars do with ants as well. The ants protect them, and the caterpillars provide them with a certain type of nutrition, almost like the sugar, I think. So, but one of the most complex Myrmecophilous relationships is the one with which we started our story. between the shrub Hartella phystophora and the ant Alumerus decimartar mm, decimarticulatus. The ant is barely 1.5 millimeters long. Uh, 1.5 millimeters? Well, that's a tiny little thing. That's like 1.5 tenths of a centimeter. So, okay, there's like 1.5 centimeters in an inch. So it's,
I
would
like
that
how you're breaking this down.
think it would be like, what, 1/15th or 1/17th of an inch? And as always with these insects, its superpower is not size, but numbers. The colony is up to 1,200 individuals. Huh, that's not a very large one. Spread over their host in barracks or domatia. These are formed from of a wait, what? These are formed from a pair of fleshy lobes at the base of the leaves, which curl inwards on themselves, making room for around 40 workers. The plant also supplies food in the form of carbohydrates. Extra floral nectaries ensure that sweet stuff is on tap. Yet the ants' needs go beyond sugar alone. The really distinct element of the relationship is that the ants use materials also provided by the plant to build a trap. First, they cut stiff hairs known as trichomes from the plant stems and arrange them to complex, crisscross scaffold. Next, they chew a fungus, not for nourishment, but to create a living adhesive paste that grows over time across the scaffold. The ensuing matrix of hair and fungus forms a platform along the length of the plant stems, with a sheltered cavity beneath in which the ants can move in relative safety. The surface of the platform is pockmarked with hundreds of ant-sized pores, which turn the entire structure into an intricate snare capable of capturing prey many times the ant size. It is the only collectively constructed snare so far found in the ant world. Wow, that's, quite interesting. Talk about a form of technology coming from this species of ant. And here we have some tempting Chinese burial model. Anyway, we're gonna keep going. The workers sit in the pores, exposing only their heads and mandibles, which are cocked and ready to snap shut on any creature that happens to walk or land on the plant. A large cricket makes a meal more than 140 times the weight of individual ants. Yeah, that's quite something. In a horrific but easy to visualize scene, the ants grab its limbs and pull backwards while the insect struggles in the opposite direction. There are more hidden jaws are waiting to grab it. The ants hold the insect down and more workers are recruited, stinging and biting until the prey is eventually overcome. While smaller insects rarely get away, larger ones such as crickets and grasshoppers do sometimes escape, losing a leg or two in the process. While this may appear unsuccessful, yet it still works. Well, I was thinking it was successful for the cricket. The cricket is put off the idea of eating the plant, and the ants gain a considerable meal. It's an extraordinary tripartite relationship. The ants get a supply of prey, the plant gets an ever alert, highly organized security force, and the fungus gets both a place to grow and nourishment from the ants' waste. Oh, I think I've heard of this, but um, I don't know exactly where this is specifically occurring. This okay, it said the Amazon. Um, hmm, I swear though, I thought there was another sort of ant fungus plant relationship that goes on.
I think you told me one before. I don't remember what it was.
Hmm. Okay, well, that seems to be it with that. Well, that was gruesome. So let's head over to the next article from Boston25news.com. Massachusetts, one of the largest shark spots in the world, study finds. Findings of a landmark population study of great white sharks off Cape Cod indicated that Massachusetts is one of the largest shark hotspots in the world, with hundreds upon hundreds of apex predators visiting local waters in recent years. I do know you do have a handful of different species of sharks that congregate around Cape Cod, especially the Massachusetts region. But the question is, like, how many of each different species? The finding of a landmark population study of great white sharks off Cape Cod indicated. Oh, I already said that. A team. Okay, so this is, I think, referring to great white specifically. That's a lot considering the great white shark population worldwide is very low, somewhere between 2,000 and 5,000 individuals. So, a team of scientists from the Atlantic White Shark Conservancy, University of Massachusetts Dartmouth School for Marine Science and Technology, and the Massachusetts Division of Marine Fisheries conducted an intensive mark recapture survey to estimate the size of the newest white shark hotspot, which represents the first estimate of white shark abundance ever produced in the North Atlantic Ocean. Researchers utilizing the mark recapture methods determined that about 800 sharks visited the waters off the Cape from 2015 to 2018. Wow, that's immense. That's quite a portion of the population, according to a new publication, the journal Marine Ecology Progress Series. Oh, okay, so mark recapture methods use repeated surveys of uniquely marked animals to estimate population size. In the case of white sharks, individuals can be distinguished based on unique markings and notches in their dorsal fins.
Somebody just said, "Chomp, chomp, chomp."
Yeah, definitely, especially on the different species of seals within the region. The old way of counting sharks was to lure them near a boat with bait, but the method was imperfect because younger sharks didn't care to congregate with older, bigger sharks. Um, I don't think the term is not necessarily caring, it's they don't want to get into conflict with the older sharks. Megan Whiten, lead author of the study, said you can actually identify individual sharks by their pigment patterns as something unique to each animal. That's interesting. I didn't know that when it came to great whites. Well, I guess that makes sense because they have a bit of a darker back, um, I guess, upper part of their body compared to the bottom. It's much whiter in that region. And then if you look at different species of sand shark, even if you're looking at something like a tiger shark, there is a difference, say, in the color pattern of the tiger shark or the hammerhead, and then the spotted pattern of different sand sharks. So this does make sense. It's almost like looking at different jaguar, lion, or tiger individuals.
I didn't even know you studied sharks.
Oh yeah, I'd take a look at them. Let's see, where were we? Okay. There are unique patterns of notching on their dorsal fin. It's similar to how fingerprints are unique to every person. A total of 339 individual white sharks were identified by experts who combed through nearly 3,000 videos captured over the course of 137 research trips to Cape Cod beaches. So the estimate provides an important baseline that can be used to monitor the performance of conservation measures for the broader population, which declined by as much as 80% as fishing pressure increased in the 1970s and 1980s. I didn't know about that. Cape Cod is the only area in the region where researchers can feasibly monitor the population. And our estimates suggest that the Cape is among the larger white shark hotspots worldwide, which is good news from a conservation standpoint. Yet that count, Winton and her co-researchers used a pilot to spot white sharks off the east coast of the Cape. And then we essentially snuck up on them. We had a GoPro on a pole and we collected underwater footage of them. Researchers also found that white shark numbers along Cape Cod peaked in the late summer and early fall when water temperatures are warmest and declined as sharks migrate out of the sea for the winter. Yes, they do make these annual migrations from Cape Cod and back into the part of the Atlantic. I'm not sure specifically where they're headed, especially during the winter. I'm guessing further south, but still where specifically, either along the coast or just the interior Atlantic itself. While the risk of a negative encounter with a shark is low, increased presence and population of white sharks off Cape Cod underscores the need for ongoing research, public safety initiatives, and education programs in the region. It's important for people to keep in mind that they are very cautious, selective predators. But she added that doesn't mean that they can't make a mistake. Let's see. Oh, um, that's interesting. I thought there was a maybe something on the shark, possibly not. Oh, is it that loose screen? going on? Okay, I'm guessing I think it's a great white that we're looking at. Large than individual. Wow, that one's got a lot of scars on it. Either it's been in a lot of fights or probably scraped against a few boats.
It just attacked the camera.
Yeah, that does occur. It's the same individual. Okay, so I'm guessing that's it. Nice. Okay, well, it's good to see. Let's go to the next one from KateA.com News. Big Lake. Other wildlife management areas to close for feral hog control. Okay. The Arkansas Game and Fish Commission will temporarily close several wildlife management areas in the coming weeks in an effort to control the feral hog population. Lake Wildlife Management Area, Mississippi County, is one of the areas that will be closed to daytime public access for short periods on various days beginning January 19th and continuing through March 31st. During that time, the U.S. Department of Agriculture's Animal and Plant Health Inspection Service, Wildlife Services, will conduct aerial operations to facilitate feral hog control efforts. Individual wildlife management areas will only be closed to public access for 1 or to 2 days, each to allow for the aerial flights. I also want to point out that these efforts are at no cost to the AGFC. How's that possible? Um, wow, okay, a lot of them. We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 different, wildlife management areas will be closed. That's funny. I mean, it's not surprising. There's been several wildlife management areas that are closed year round or, they're only of access to, I think, hunting in certain areas or just a short part of the year for some reason can you hike in it. So it's confusing depending on, the protected area.
Haven't you shown up at some agencies and there's nobody there?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, there's nothing. Like, there's a sign, but apparently you can't, hike in it.
No, I meant for
Or
offices.
oh, right. Yeah, sometimes just avoid, any rangers or, whoever's there, whoever's supposed to be operating the place. Is that it? Oh, okay. Well, let's head over to the next one. So from discoverwildlife.com, uncharted territory, soft tissue of ancient animal found entombed in volcanic rock near Rome. 30,000-year-old remains display microscopic details of animal tissue, including eyelids and perfectly preserved feathers.
The island is covered in perfectly preserved feathers?
Did I say island? It's not showing it on here.
I don't know, maybe I missed what you said.
Well, this is taking place during the late Pleistocene or Ice Age over in Italy. So you would have probably had at this point certain hippo populations, definitely lions. Well, lions were existing just a couple of centuries ago in Rome or southern Europe itself, Portugal, Spain, Italy, Greece. So you probably had mammoths in this region as well. Definitely cave lions. So let's see. Discovered near Rome in 1889 by a local landowner, the specimen was considered remarkable even then for its extraordinary three-dimensional preservation, with intricate features such as eyelids and wing features still visible. But new research has now uncovered even more astonishing detail, microscopic and feather pigment structures held in time by volcanic minerals. So the findings published in the journal Geology reveal that the feathers of this prehistoric bird have been preserved in a mineral called zeolite, a phenomenon never before documented in fossils. Fossil feathers are usually preserved in ancient mud rocks laid down in lakes or lagoons. Fossil vulture is preserved in ash deposits, which is extremely unusual. When analyzing the fossil vulture plumage, we found ourselves in uncharted territory. These feathers are nothing like what we usually see in other fossils. Oh, okay, so it's preserved vulture plumage from the late Ice Age. Wow, that is very well intact. Using advanced electron microscopes and chemical analysis, the team determined that the feathers had been preserved at the nanoscale by zeolites, minerals rich in silicon and aluminum, typically associated with volcanic and hydrothermal environments. These minerals formed as the volcanic ash altered over time, locking the delicate structures of the feathers in place. We used to think that volcanic deposits are associated with hot, fast moving pyroclastic currents that will destroy soft tissues. However, these geological settings are complex and can include low temperature deposits that can preserve soft tissues at the cellular level. Rossi adds that the fine preservation of the feather structures indicates that the vulture carcass was entombed in a low temperature pyroclastic deposit. I think that's supposed to replicate the eruption. Oh, poor guy. Looks like a somewhat a griffin vulture. Professor Maria McNamara says that the fossil record is continuously surprising us, be it new fossils, strange new body shapes, or in this case, new styles of fossil preservation. I wouldn't say this is a new style, but I would say it's too common to find exquisitely preserved specimens from the Pleistocene or the Ice Age in volcanic rock. But unfortunately, at least by what we've seen, we only found the feathers of single feather of this vulture.
You sounded so depressed as you said that.
Yeah, I mean, um, vultures are they're okay. We never expected to find delicate tissues such as feathers preserved in a volcanic rock. Discoveries such as these broaden the range of potential rock types where we can find fossils, even those preserving fragile soft tissues. Okay, so, is there anything else? Okay, so that's it. All right, well, let's head over to the next article. From the dodo.com. Driver locks eyes with rare animal in in tree. A 1 in 750,000 sighting. The entire encounter was awesome. While driving home the other day down a forested road in Texas, TikToker user The Bean Dips dad had an experience he will not soon forget. And it all began with a random sighting of some animals in the street ahead. They turned and crossed the road approximately 50 feet in front of me. That is when I realized they were raccoons. But after a couple of the raccoons mossied up a tree, he realized one was not like the rest. The bean, or the bee and Ipes, or the bean dip's dad slowed his car to a stop and realized he was seeing something special. There, high in the tree, was an all-white raccoon, an apparent albino. And albinism is believed to occur one in only 1 out of every 10,000 to 20,000 raccoons born. The odds of seeing one in the wild, however, are said to be 1 in 750,000, making this an extremely rare sighting. After pausing to lock eyes with the bean dip's dad, the rare raccoon continued on his way. The entire encounter was awesome, but the eye contact was intense, the bean dip's dad said. The raccoon had clearly been curious about him too. Oh, there he is. Click on it.
I can't believe you could read that with a straight face.
There he is. He's right there.
Wait, that's a raccoon?
Yeah, it's an albino. It's a very nice sighting. Hey, there's a more, close up. For the bean dip's dad, crossing paths with such a rare and beautiful animal filled him with wonder the few experiences ever have, saying, "It was not just the highlight of the day, it was and has been one of the coolest things I have seen in nature." Oh, there isn't a close up? Oh, well. Where did this occur? It was in Texas. That's interesting. Hmm, somewhere in East Texas. Okay. Well, let's head over to the next article. Hi, RJ. DiscoverWildlife.com. Ice Age wolf pulled from Siberian permafrost. Scientists are amazed at what they found in its stomach. The answer to how the woolly rhinoceros became extinct may have just been found in the stomach of one of its fiercest predators. I'm not sure figure how we would figure out that the woolly rhinoceros would gone extinct by being in the stomach of this individual unless just intensively hunting the calves and Rhinos don't have a fast reproduction process. I mean, they give birth to a calf, like, every, 9 to 11 months. Well, once the female is pregnant. Then, they don't have a calf for a few years after that. So, if they're intensely hunting the rhino calves in this instance, well, I guess they could indicate it. For decades, scientists have studied the DNA of long extinct animals found frozen in permafrost. However, researchers from the Center for Paleogenetics in Stockholm, Sweden, have just completed a world first and sequenced the entire genome of an Ice Age animal found in the stomach of another. The study published today in Genome Biology and Evolution analyzed a tissue sample from a woolly rhinoceros, Coelodonta antiquitatis, recovered from the stomach contents of an ancient wolf and its lupus, all just older modern gray wolf populations. They were already around during the end of the Ice Age or Pleistocene epoch, with coexisting, at least in North America, with the last dire wolf populations, which is the genus Inoscion. The dire wolf and the gray wolf are completely different genre. So the thing that popped up earlier in 2025, claiming that they created dire wolves was completely a hoax. So this Russian doll of Ice Age remains was discovered in permafrost near the village of Tumat in the remote northeastern corner of Siberia. During an autopsy of the frozen wolf, researchers found a small 4 by 3 centimeter fragment of tissue that, after a series of DNA analyses, was identified as belonging to a woolly rhinoceros. Both the woolly rhinoceros tissue and the wolf remains were radiocarbon dated and found to be 14,400 years old. So this is during the last 3 to 4,000 years of the Ice Age, and making the former one of the youngest specimens of its kind ever discovered. Yeah, it's pretty neat that we found a woolly rhinoceros, intact woolly rhinoceros tissue, this young. Recovering genomes from individuals that lived right before extinction is challenging, but it can provide clues on what caused the species to disappear, which may also be relevant for the conservation of endangered species today. Oh, okay, so I think this is the wolf. Autopsy of the Tumont 1 wolf puppy, one of 2 Tumont puppies found in the area. When a fragment of woolly rhinoceros tissue was found in the stomach, I'd like to go real quick. That's a very nice, preservation. Where was Oh, okay, it's over here. Eesh. Gotta say the fur is very much intact. I mean, if you look at those toes, I'm not sure about the skull. I mean, it's definitely somewhat preserved. Okay, let's go back down. I guess that is part of let's see. The woolly rhinoceros tissue sample is roughly the size of a small matchbox. That's amazing. DNA
That
analyses,
was just a patch of fur, right?
yeah. I mean, yeah, it's too bad it's not like a full there has been a full, intact woolly rhino, and I believe the Coelodonta antiquitatis, um, specimen that has been preserved as a mummy from Siberia. DNA analyses conducted by this study were made particularly challenging by the peculiar style of preservation. While animal remains found in permafrost can preserve DNA, it's typically degraded and only occurs in very small amounts. The fact that the fragment of tissue was found inside a predator's stomach further complicated analyses, introducing the potential risk of wolf contamination. I'm guessing wolf contaminating the rhino, possibly? Nevertheless, researchers were able to parse the two animals' genomes and reveal secrets hidden in their DNA. It was really exciting, but also very challenging to extract a complete genome from such an unusual sample. Let's see. I'm guessing this is the site, yeah, over in Siberia. So this is the permafrost section where the Dumont wolf, pup Dumont 1 specifically was found. Oh, that was all the way back in 2011, so it's been a while. Well, it's not surprising. That tends to happen with a wide variety of specimens, even mummies, where there just isn't any true analysis put into them until years later.
Isn't that when they found that dinosaur egg?
Oh, that might have been earlier. That might have been like 2007 or 2008.
No, but I meant they had it.
Oh, yeah, but they didn't finally do deep analysis into
I
it
didn't know they had it. They
or
said it was in and they I thought when you did that article, it said that they found it in,
it was like in another department of,
it was in a giant brick. Somebody saw something on the edge of it or something, and
they could it was just like an Oviraptor thing way back. Yeah, yeah, it was something like that. I think it was in, like, another part of their storage, and they happened to find it. That happens with a wide range of different, prehistoric mammals as well as dinosaurs too. The genome sequence from the woolly rhinoceros tissue sample was later compared to 2 other genomes recovered from older woolly rhinoceros remains dated to 18,000 and 49,000 years ago. These comparisons revealed no signs of genetic deterioration as the species approached extinction 14,000 years ago. That is quite interesting. So the woolly rhinoceros population, at least this specific species, Coelodonta antiquitatis, seems to be healthy, and then it just um, randomly disappears. Instead, they suggested woolly rhinoceroses maintained a stable and relatively large population until a sudden collapse just prior to their extinction. Our analyses showed a surprisingly stable genetic pattern with no change in inbreeding levels through tens of thousands of years prior to the extinction of woolly rhino. That is interesting. Um, I you would expect for a species to gradually over time have a certain issue, but this seems to be immediate. Now the question is it within a few hundred years and all of a sudden there was a major problem? Because You're you're looking at what, 20 to 30,000 years at least? I mean, compared to the extinction rate of species in recent times, that's a long period. So,
oh, wait, isn't there a, marine reptile that they said just disappeared?
living today or back in the Cretaceous,
Yeah, back in the Cretaceous. I thought there was one that you said just, like, vanished, and they don't know why. It was
I think that goes to all of them, but,
okay.
um, yeah, I have no idea. Um, Love Dallin, also from the Center for Paleogenetics. The results show that the woolly rhinos had a viable population for 15,000 years after the first humans arrived in northeastern Siberia, which suggests that climate warming rather than human hunting caused the extinction. Well, it's more than just when you're looking at this point, the climate warming. And here's the thing: there were all these different warming and cooling events within the Pleistocene or Ice Age um, epoch. And at this point, what you had was a massive change in ecosystems. So when you have it where these woolly rhinos and even the wolves at this point, or woolly mammoths, were thriving on a much more dry mammoth steppe grassland compared to what it quickly changed into, which was basically a wet, quite snowy tundra, which is not suited for animals like woolly mammoths and rhinos when it comes to their tooth structure as well as their overall digestive system. And that's where animals like the gray wolves, the reindeer were able to adapt and survive. Much smaller mammals, but larger megafauna just simply couldn't adapt to this new type of habitat and feeding style. Oh, there's the face. Looks like a pig in one instance. And then, but yeah, it's a wolf. It's quite interesting.
For anybody wondering, it's not being cut off. That's the whole
Yeah, that's quite surprising. So that's the Tumat one wolf puppy. Interestingly, the wolf the woolly rhinoceros tissue was recovered from was a puppy, not an adult. The puppy is one of two now famous Tumat puppies found in 2011 and 2015, respectively. These puppies are believed to have been littermates, and their presence near mammoth bones shows signs of butchering by humans previously led some researchers to suggest that they were early domestic dogs. A study published in June 2025 put a pin in that particular theory, suggesting they were most likely wolf cubs on the basis of several chemical fingerprints found in their bones, teeth, and tissue. It's likely the puppies died shortly after one of them dined out on the remains of a woolly rhinoceros. As the tissue sample analysis by this latest study had not been fully digested, this hints at a rather summary end for the Tiamat puppies, but it also suggests they were being cared for by their packmates who may have brought them scraps from a recent hunt. So almost like they couldn't digest what they were eating and it killed them. Oh, yeah, there's the woolly rhino, mummy. Yeah, it's very much intact. That's great. I forgot how many, I think it was the late 2010s that this was discovered, unless it was more recent. So I believe this is the, Coelodonta antiquitatis. I'm guessing also somewhere around 30 to 50,000 years old as well. So probably just feeding on a wide range of different species of grasses within the mammoth steppe. So, that was really interesting to see. So let's head over to the next article from the Dodo. Uh, where did yeah. Okay. So from greatergood.com, interns find small owl with eyes frozen shut during mountain snow check. Wow, that's quite a shock. He really does look like
It's like a Christmas ornament.
I was going to say some sort of Christmas dessert.
That was terrible.
Yeah, like it looks like some sort of an ice cream or a cookie of some sort. Um, anyway, at New Hampshire's Mount Washington Observatory, winter brings more than just snowdrifts and icy winds. For the dedicated team members and interns stationed to top this famously frigid peak, it also brings a vital responsibility, measuring snow depths every 6 hours to support the National Weather Service and the Mount Washington Avalanche Center. But this past March, what was supposed to be a routine snow check turned into a heartwarming wildlife rescue, one that highlighted both the harshness of nature and the quiet heroism of those who work in it. Uh, this is later. I don't know what you would name this guy. I think that might be him. Another one. Oh. So I guess this is after he's all warmed up, quite puffy. Oh, whoa. Okay, yeah. Yes. Wow. While conducting their usual
He looks
measurement.
mad.
I don't know. He's an owl. To me, he kind of looks somewhat relaxed, but yeah, owls always for some reason carry that mad or sort of intense look. But
I'm gonna eat you look.
yeah, he looks a bit relaxed. Yeah, definitely this one. Wow. While conducting their usual measurements, two observatory interns noticed something unexpected nestled in the snow. Among the swirling flakes and biting wind, a tiny creature was barely visible. Upon closer inspection, they discovered a small owl, shivering and nearly motionless, with its eyes frozen shut. The bird was caught in the midst of snowy, foggy, and windy conditions that can turn perilous for even the hardiest wildlife. There it is. Wow. You wouldn't think that they were um, their eyelids would freeze shut in this instance, but maybe he didn't have any shelter. Maybe his feathers just aren't fully formed at this point.
Right there, he looks like he's a baby.
Yeah, I don't think he's fully grown. According to a representative from the observatory, the interns acted quickly. They gently scooped the owl from the snowbank and brought her indoors, hoping to give her a fighting chance. I found this detail striking. In such an extreme environment where temperatures and visibility can plummet rapidly, these young scientists didn't hesitate to shift from data collection to animal rescue. It speaks volumes about their compassion and presence of mind. I bet they were excited to do it. Recognizing that the owl needed more specialized care, the interns consulted a volunteer who is also a birding enthusiast. The volunteer transferred the bird to a cat carrier. keep her safe, warm, and reached out to New Hampshire Fish and Game for guidance. Oh, for some reason, I thought we were over in Washington State. Like, wasn't the mountain named Washington something?
I actually don't remember.
Hmm. Later that day, staff from New Hampshire State Park transported the owl down the mountain to the fish and game base, where she was examined by wildlife experts. I wonder if they're adjacent to the White Mountain National Forest over in New Hampshire, which is home to like the highest elevation in the state of New Hampshire. So it's like towards the northern Appalachian Mountain region. So just west of Maine. The bird was identified as a northern saw-whet owl, one of North America's smallest owl species. Oh, and known for their oversized heads and striking yellow eyes, these owls are typically elusive and nocturnal, making this daytime snowbound encounter all the more unusual. Fortunately, the examination revealed no injuries. The owl was simply cold and disoriented, likely caught off guard by the mountain's rapidly changing weather. I'm used to also hearing, mainly Vermont, but also New Hampshire to an extent. Like in a few years back, they were having certain mild and wet winters, not so much like the harsh, snowy conditions like what we're seeing here. So to an extent, this is kind of a good thing because it's going to help with the lower the tick population. So the moose will appreciate it in that aspect, but not so much when it comes to food. So, but I'm glad this owl was once inside and away from the elements, the owl began to recover. She opened her eyes, shook the moisture from her feathers, and slowly regained her composure. The observatory reported that she was in good health and, after warming up, was released back to the surrounding wilderness where she belonged. The successful return of the owl to her habitat was a moment of relief and celebration for everyone involved. This story, though brief, underscores the unpredictable intersection of wildlife and weather. Mount Washington, there we go. Known for its extreme conditions and critical meteorological research, also a place where nature's fragility is on full display. The northern saw-whet owl, small and vulnerable, is lucky to be spotted in time. Without the intern's careful attention and swift action, her fate might have been very different. It also highlights the importance of collaboration between organizations, from the observatory interns and birding volunteers to New Hampshire state parks and fish and game. Each played a role in ensuring the owl's survival. A coordinated effort turned what could have been a tragic discovery into a hopeful outcome. The observatory later shared the story on Instagram, writing, "We hope our northern saw-whet owl friend lives a long and healthy life." Um, okay, I'm glad that it survived. Goes to the next It's from ScienceDaily.com. New fossils in Qatar reveal a tiny sea cow hidden for 21 million years. A newly discovered miniature sea cow revealed a 21 million year legacy of sea grass in the Arabian Gulf. The site contains the densest known collection of fossil sea cow bones. Oh, wow. I didn't know that specifically about Qatar in that area of the Arabian Gulf. This is, let's see, showing that these animals once thrived in rich seagrass meadows. Their ecological role mirrors that of modern dugongs, which still reshape the Gulf seafloor as they graze. Dugongs are another species of manatee sea cow. The findings, so this is taking place during the early Miocene epoch, which started somewhere between 20 and 24 million years ago. The findings may help researchers understand how seagrass ecosystems respond to long-term environmental change. Today, the Arabian Gulf supports large numbers of dugongs, marine mammals related to manatees that feed on seagrass and leave trails in the sediment as they graze. Newly examined fossils from Qatar show that sea cows living more than 20 million years ago shaped their environments in much the same way. The findings, published December 10th in the journal Peer J, come from a partnership between scientists at the Smithsonian's Natural Museum of Natural History and Qatar museums. The team also identified a previously unknown species of ancient sea cow that was much smaller than modern dugongs. Well, I would expect that considering it would be much earlier in their evolution. You can still have it there where, depending on how long a certain group of animals has existed for, there are massive species much earlier in its evolution. But, this instance, yeah, I would, expect a much smaller individual, but I'm just wondering how large specifically. So let's take a deeper look. So we discovered a distant relative of dugongs in rocks less than 10 miles away from a bay with seagrass meadows that make up their prime habitat today. This part of the world has been prime sea cow habitat for the past 21 million years. It's just that the sea cow role has been occupied by different species over time. Yeah, it is quite astonishing. They really haven't changed or moved from the area in quite a long period. Well, changed in probably their overall feeding behavior. Obviously, their size, they've become a bit larger. Dugongs, dugong, have a stout body and a downward-facing snout lined with bristles that help them sense food, or whiskers, which do grow back. They're basically made out of the same, material that your hair and nails are made out of, which is keratin, giving them a broad resemblance to manatees. Their tails distinguish them from their relatives. Manatees have a rounded, paddle-shaped tail, while dugongs have a dolphin-like tail with flukes. However, dugongs and manatees are more closely related to elephants than they are to dolphins, whales, and porpoises. These herbivores occupy shallow coastal habitats across a wide range that includes Western Africa, the Indo-Pacific, and northern Australia. The largest single herd of dugongs occurs in the Arabian Gulf, where their constant grazing stirs up sediment and releases nutrients that benefit surrounding marine ecosystems. Yeah, they're concentrated, I believe, off of northeastern Australia. So, just east of Queensland, and there's a population of dugong in the region. Take a deeper look. Also, evidence shows that sea cows have fed on aquatic plants for roughly 50 million years. Yeah, it's been quite some time. They've done really well. So this is during the early part of the Eocene epoch, so around 50 million years ago. We're starting around 54 million years ago within that. Despite this long history, dugongs in the Gulf now face significant challenges. Okay, let's take another look, see if there's anything else. I'm just taking a look. I just don't want to read a bunch of attacking people um, news. Yeah, it's just like just takes away from what's actually going on here. Okay. The team documented sea cow remains at more than 170 separate locations across the site. Heinsohn described Al-Mazabaya as the richest fossil sea cow assemblage known. He compared it to Carobalina in Chile's Atacama Desert, where he and other researchers had uncovered a large collection of whale fossils. Although the bones share similarities with those of modern dugongs, they also show differences. The ancient animals still had hind limb bones, while living dugongs and manatees lost during their evolution, which they lost. The prehistoric species also had a straighter snout and smaller tusks. I wonder if this is referring to different species like Ovinositops, but Ovinositops didn't appear until the Pliocene, somewhere around 4 million years ago. I believe was somewhat smaller than today's sea cows, at least over in Florida, which they can weigh up to 1,100 pounds or a little over 550 kilograms. Ovinositops, I think, was like a 500 to 600 pound individual, or weighing somewhere around 350 kilograms. Still an herbivore like them, but had extremely elongated tusk, but it would extend backwards, which is you would think that to defend itself, it might protrude forwards, but it can still hurt something. But a um, much smaller tusk on the opposite side of its skull, which is quite interesting. Possibly a
But you're saying it had 2 separate sized skulls? I mean,
tusks.
tusks?
It seems that way, at least I think of the specimens that we have of Openocetos. So the team formerly designated the Almazivia sea cows as a new species, Salweisterin catarensis. The genus name refers to the Bay of Salwa, a nearby section of the Gulf where dugongs live today. Although the Bay of Salwa touches the waters of several countries, the species name catarensis honors Qatar, where the fossils were discovered. It seemed only fitting to use the country's name for the species, as it clearly points to where the fossils were discovered. Based on their estimates, the researchers believe Salweisterin weighs around 250 pounds, similar to the weight of an adult panda or a heavyweight boxer. Okay, pandas can get bigger. 250 pounds, so it's somewhere around what, 120 kilograms. So it's a smaller species of sea cow, but for the time, I'm guessing it was okay.
How big did the others get?
Oh, well, I think the largest species of sea cow, which only went extinct in the 16 or 1700s, from overhunting, the Steller sea cow, I think, reached somewhere around 3 to 4,000 pounds or pushing somewhere around, 2,000 kilograms. So, it's quite immense. Lived in the Arctic region, I think at least over in Canada. So let's see. Pandas can reach somewhere around 350 pounds or pushing over, like 160 kilograms. So, uh, anyway. Even at that size, it was relatively small compared with some dugongs living today, which can weigh nearly 8 times more. Fossils provide evidence that abundant seagrass beds existed in the region more than 20 million years ago, during a period when the Gulf supported high marine biodiversity. Sea cows would help maintain these underwater meadows by feeding and disturbing the sediment. The density of the Almazayaba bone bed gives us a big clue. The Salwasirens, this is referring to the genus of dugong, played the role of a seagrass ecosystem engineer in the early Miocene, the way that dugongs do today. There's been a full replacement of the evolutionary actors, but not the ecological roles. Bianson also noted that sea cow fossils often appear in mixed species groups, making it likely that further research at the site could uncover additional dugong relatives. Let's see. I think that's it with it. Yeah. Okay. It's good to see about those early Miocene dugongs and sea cows. Let's head over to the next article from Newsweek.com. What does 66 million-year-old fossilized vomit tell us? Interesting.
Somebody got sick.
Yeah, um, quite interesting. Okay, so what do we have here? Seems to be a pile of bones of something. The regurgitillidite found at the Sevens Clint site on the Danish island of Zealand. Hmm, interesting. So right at the end of the Cretaceous or the beginning of the Paleocene epoch or Cenozoic era, a man has made an unusual discovery in Denmark, a lump of fossilized animal vomit that is thought to be around 66 million years old. These types of fossils are known as technically as regurgitilites. They represent the fossilized remains of stomach contents that an animal has, as the name suggests, regurgitated. These can include undigested food, bones, or other materials expelled from the digestive site or digestive system. Such finds can provide valuable insights into the diet and feeding behaviors of ancient animals, but due to their often fragmented nature, it can be challenging to link them to specific species. The recently uncovered regurgitillite was found at the Sevens Clint site on the Danish island of Zealand by a local fossil hunter, Peter Benike. The Highlands Museum announced in the statement. I wonder what this is of. I have no idea. The site, which has been inscribed on the UNESCO World Heritage List, consists of a coastal white chalk cliff. Stevens Clint is renowned for its geological and paleontological significance, particularly because of its well-preserved layers that mark the boundary between the Cretaceous and Paleogene periods, around 66 million years ago. So probably referring to the KT boundary, which is that line in geological time that separates the Mesozoic era from the Cenozoic era, so the time of dinosaurs to the time of mammals. This boundary is famously associated with the mass extinction event that led to the demise of the dinosaurs. Evans Clint provides one of the most complete and accessible records of this event, layers containing evidence of the impact of a massive asteroid or comet, which is believed to have triggered the extinction event. Let's see what's going on here. Um, Site's paleontological importance is underscored by the presence of fossils found in the sedimentary layers, including ammonites, so the distant relatives of squids. These are the armored or shelled cephalopods that lived throughout the Mesozoic era and the later part of the Paleozoic era, so the time before the dinosaurs. Marine reptiles and microorganisms, all of which provide critical insight into life before and after the extinction event. This makes Stevens Clint one of the most important locations for understanding the end Cretaceous extinction and its aftermath, offering a window into the dramatic changes in Earth's biosphere, the recovery of life following the event. Pennick discovered the regurgitolite after splaying open a piece of chalk found at the site. Inside was a strange accumulation of sea lilies, a type of marine animal related to starfish, with a stalk for anchoring and feathery arms used for filter feeding. Okay, so sea lilies and oh, okay. Well, okay, there were different species of sea lily during the time of the Mesozoic era, time of the dinosaurs, especially different types of crinoid animals, not necessarily plants. So they did possess a certain shape very similar to a plant that could reach over 12 to 15 feet in height, or somewhere between 4 to 5 meters. So let's see. I'm also thinking of certain species from the Jurassic. So this was over 160 million years ago. Not during this specific time. Because I don't know of any large crinoid animals from this period. The fossil hunter brought his find to the Geomuseum of Hex in Denmark, where it was cleaned and examined by sea lily expert John Hock. The researcher determined that the accumulation consisted of at least two different species of sea lilies mixed together in a lump. These sea lilies had likely been eaten by an animal, possibly some type of fish, that subsequently regurgitated the ingestible parts. There were a wide range of different species of shark within the late Cretaceous period. You could have certain species reach or approach the size of today's modern great whites, and then you had, let's see,
They're vegetarian sharks.
I don't know of any. Very possible you might have certain species that are able to feed on certain seagrass or certain plants within the ocean, but you also had different long conical toothed fish and during the late Cretaceous period, especially the Cephactinid lineage, which have been preserved, um, choking on other species of fish that are trying to engulf whole death. This is a really unusual find. Sea lilies are not a particularly nutritious diet, as they are mainly composed of calcareous plates held together by a few soft parts. But the animal, probably some kind of a fish, at 66 million years ago, ate sea lilies, lived at the bottom of the chalk sea, and regurgitated the skeletal parts. Such a vine provides important new knowledge about the relationship between predators and prey and the food chains in the Cretaceous Sea. Oh, that was interesting. So some fish, maybe species of shark, regurgitated this sea lily, and it left quite a bit of bones behind. So, let's head over to next article from the denvergazette.com. When wolves and wolverines collide, what research says about how these predators interact, might interact? Yes, the two face off. Yeah, I don't know. Yes, the wolves and wolverine populations have coexisted in different parts of Canada, the United States, different parts of Northern Europe and Russia for thousands of years. As every Coloradoan should be aware of, Wolves were reintroduced to the state in December of 2023, and they've been making headlines ever since. Well, there was already a population of wolves that headed down from Wyoming back in 2019 or 2020. Less discussed is the impending wolverine reintroduction, which will mean adding another long gone predator species to the state's landscape within a relatively short time span, assuming plans come to fruition. Um, that's interesting. I thought there was already a small population of wolverines within Colorado, so it's quite interesting. I guess they're just over in Wyoming, Montana, possibly certain sightings over in Utah, but I guess not Colorado. While both the wolf and the wolverine had breeding populations in the Centennial States into the early 1900s, it's been many decades since both species have interacted in Colorado, begging the question what will happen when these two species meet. Probably just avoid each other. Wolverines don't want to have to deal with the full pack of wolves, and even they don't want to deal with him. So usually, the wolverine also stays at much higher altitudes
Is he
compared to the
similar
wolf.
to a honey badger?
Um, I the honey badger, I believe, is a bit more omnivorous compared to the wolverine. Also,
No, I
now
meant
they are related. Yes, so they're both members of the mustelid family. They're closely related to he's closely related to other species of badger as well as the honey badger
I meant
itself.
are they aggressive the same way?
Oh, I believe wolverines are much more not just elusive but shy, especially of people. Honey badgers will challenge you. So I'd say badgers are more aggressive and are willing to take more unnecessary risks compared to the wolverine. Let's see. And an academic piece featured in a publication called Ecology and Evolution in 2023 takes a look at this specific scenario, seeking to address the subject and authors described as unstudied in North America. Researchers found that wolves and wolverines tend to occupy a similar habitat, also seeking out similar food sources. In a sense, this pits them against each other in the fight to survive. It means that despite each species' elusiveness and low population density, interactions may occur. While a brazen wolverine might be able to fight off a lone wolf, that's less likely to be the outcome should a wolverine encounter a pack. The paper took a look at three instances that a pack encounter occurred over the course of 13 months, each of which resulted in the wolverine's demise. Well, yeah, it was a pack taking on a wolverine. He's got a problem. Um, I'm guessing this might have occurred somewhere in Wyoming or Montana. Maybe the Greater Yellowstone ecosystem, the Northern Continental Divide ecosystem over in Montana. Yellowstone ecosystem, only a sliver of it is over in southern Montana or eastern Idaho. Most of it is in Wyoming, western Wyoming too. The key takeaway from the research, however, wasn't that wolves killed the wolverine after all. Wolves tend to be opportunistic hunters with a polite or a wide range of prey. Instead, the takeaway was that in each case where the wolves killed the wolverine, the apex predators opted not to consume the wolverine's carcass. That's interesting. I would have expected them to consume it, and they didn't. Almost like they have massive respect for the wolverine, and but they just said you had to go. Um, I don't know what to say about that. That's very interesting. According to researchers, this likely means that the killings were the result of defense of a food source, territoriality, interspecific competitive killing, or some combination of those behaviors. After all, wolves don't generally kill for sport, with even surplus killings. Wolves killing more animals that can be consumed tends to be unusual behavior. No, it's not. It actually occurs in different harsh winters, especially over in Yellowstone. There have been a few instances where um, wolves will go after several elk in a single night because the snow is extremely high. They know the elk are weak and they're going to have extreme amount of trouble moving through the tall snow, dense snow, and they take advantage of it. Also, wolves and bears
No,
during
didn't it say they don't hunt for sport?
yeah, they do. I'd say most predators to an extent do. Will hunt for sport at some point. Um, Sometimes it's just to teach their young how to hunt, and sometimes it's just because there's an abundant food source out there. So it's like, why not? And you're gonna have food left over, and depending on where you are, it's gonna stay fresh for a longer period of time, especially up in the winter, these different areas. So, in the Rocky Mountains. It also occurs during the calving season for different species of animals: caribou, moose, bison, less often with the bison, but still does occur, and, bears, wolves, they will continuously um, take down the calves. And certain parts of Alberta, Canada, grizzly bears are the worst predator when it comes to mule deer fawns, I think moose fawns in the region, and possibly elk calves too, moose calves. And not so much the wolves in the area. I'm not sure if it's because the wolves are focusing on a different prey source. There isn't as large of a wolf population as compared to other areas. Definitely in Alaska, that is the case in many instances. So, um, no, they do surplus kill. So there you have it. If a wolf pack encounters a wolverine on Colorado's landscape and the wolverine is unable to escape, keep in mind that wolverines are really good at climbing trees. There's a good chance the wolverine will be killed and left to rot. Uh,
Not if he climbs the tree.
oh yeah, like this guy here. Oh, that's it. Yeah, the thing is that you can even have it where different populations of black bears in the eastern United States can be notorious white-tailed deer fawn killers, even more than the coyotes. So let's head over to the next article. I'd say maybe a predator that doesn't seem to hunt for sport as much or surplus kill are cougars, um, or just necessarily cats in general, because the other animals.
Cats hunt birds just for sport.
Oh, okay. Well, I guess referring to mammals, but if you're taking birds into account, then I'm off on that. Definitely bobcats and lynx. Okay, so let's see. So from newsweek.com, security cam points at parked cars, then a huge black bear shows up. Black bear seemed to be looking for cover from the rain when it approached a convertible car parked outside property in Virginia. But while the animal's eagerness to seek shelter was understandable, given conditions at the time, few would have expected what followed next. Fortunately, the entire incident was captured on a nearby security camera, wise with the results making for unusual viewing. When it comes to bears, the golden rule is never ever feed them. Always remember that. Okay. Is there anything else? While no one was guilty of feeding the bear in the video, Wise shared with Newsweek, food, alongside the need for cover, was a definite motivating factor. In this clip, a black bear can be seen approaching a convertible car, which, according to Wise, belongs to a man named Kenny, who shared the footage with him. At first, the bear sniffs around the car, perhaps unsure of what it is dealing with. However, this bear shows an impressive level of intelligence with what it does next. Having felt around the front passenger seat door with its paw, suddenly the bear finds a way to open it. I mean, it's not surprising these days. It's you just automatically
Well, it's a
assume.
Mazda Miata, so the doors open pretty easy.
Oh, yeah, you just automatically assume that a black bear, a brown bear, a polar bear can open a car. By the way, lions and I think even hyenas over in Africa do as well. Definitely lions. And I think there's like even a video of some family over in South Africa, I think in the Kruger National Park too, in the eastern part of the country, left their left their doors unlocked as they're driving through this lion pride. And a lioness comes up and says, "Oh, here's my Uber Eats," and, opens it. They were fine. I guess she heard them scream and went, "Whoa, it's supposed to be red?" That was strange. It's like, I think you see her, like, look over at one of her pride mates, and she's like, "Did you see that? We need a refund." Okay. Anyway, besides, I ordered buffalo. A moment later, the bear can be seen climbing into the car, no doubt looking for food. There's a chance that the smell of something edible inside the car was what drew the bear towards the vehicle in the first place. Whatever the reality, the sight of a bear casually opening a car door and climbing in makes for extraordinary viewing. However, it's not the first time a bear has been caught on camera attempting a little Grand Theft Auto. In July 2024, a security camera outside a family home captured a bear trying to open the door of a parked car, only to find it was locked. That must have been quite surprising. Back in March of that same year, another bear had a little more success with a similar approach. Once again, a nearby security camera captured the incident with a large animal filmed opening one of the back doors of a car parked outside a property in California before climbing in. Well, also, many times if the black bear, brown bear can't open the door, it'll just shove right through the window. So,
Well, that was a convertible too. Could rip the top.
oh yeah, that's well, there's something amusing about the sight of a bear climbing in like a person hitching a ride. The aftermath of a bear finding its way into your car is rarely a laughing matter. In July 2024, authorities in Connecticut released footage showing the devastation left in the wake of one bear climbing into a local resident's car. As ever, anyone parking up in an area known to be home to bears of any kind is advised to make sure they lock it. And just, you know, okay, let's see what
It's
happens.
like these stories of the bears, getting into people's houses because the people left the doors unlocked or windows
Yeah,
open.
the window's open. Yeah, that's funny. No, it'll replay it. Oh, no, this is something else. Przewalski's horse, though, they're pretty rare. I don't know what to do. Yeah, but showing the rare I mean, unless that's just an advertisement up top. Nope. Yeah, that's the thing. Like, what happened? Wait a second. Nope. There we go. Phew. So here he is. You weren't expecting that. Okay. Let's head over to the next article. From discoverwildlife.com. Trail cameras capture rare flat-headed cat in Thai forest. Hasn't been seen there for almost 30 years. So one of the rarest wild cats in the world, these tiny felines are roughly half the weight of a domestic house cat. Okay, well, this wasn't what we saw before in another incident with flat-headed cat showing up in another part of Thailand. Looks like he seems to have caught a fish.
Those eyes, though,
Yeah. I think this guy weighs somewhere around 4 to 5 pounds, a little over 2 kilograms. He's full grown. Let's see. Named for its curiously flattened skull, this is a wild cat of wetlands and swamp forests with a global population, according to wildlife conservation experts at the IUCN, of just 2,500 adult individuals. Do not know if they're even connected in population. So, yeah, that's the problem. Okay. So, but thanks to a camera trapping project in the very southern tip of Thailand, scientists from Panthera, the global conservation group, have discovered a population in Princess Sarindhorn Sanctuary. First observation of the species there in 30 years. 13 detections were made in 2024 and 16 last year, and these included one female with her cub. I gotta say, considering the small population, this is good to see. At this stage, we cannot estimate the population size because the methods used so far do not allow for individual identification or abundance estimation. Oh, should we take a look? Yeah, so there's a full-grown flat-headed cat. Oh, it's going after. Oh, okay, yeah, so that is a little water there.
that thing looks tiny.
Yeah, it's I guess going after smaller species of fish in this instance. I wonder why the species or these certain predators decide to stay small. It can benefit them, keeps them hidden from other larger predators. They need less food, might need more frequently. There are two problems with gathering more information about how flat-headed cats are faring in the sanctuary. The first is the nature of the swamp forest terrain, with its complex mosaic habitat of open water and patches of land where rangers can move only 1 to 2 kilometers a day, barely a mile. I'm guessing there aren't a lot of trails in this area either. Second is the nature of the beasts themselves. Individual flat-headed cats cannot be identified by coat patterns, which prevents us from using photographic capture recapture methods. That's interesting. It must be that similar in just darker coat. Uh, plumage tends to be referred to when it comes to bird
That
characteristics.
looks completely different.
Definitely his face. He seems a bit bigger. Hmm. Not sure if it's the same area and it's just dry. I wonder if he picked up the scent of something or he's just kind of faking. Flat-headed cat is a little steady feline weighing on average just 1.5 kilograms or almost 4 pounds, which is less than half your standard house cat in the UK. Just thinking of a fat cat. One thing that excites the Panthera team in Thailand is that this newly discovered population appears to be more concentrated than other ones in Malaysia and Indonesia. The higher concentration makes this site more suitable for intensive research, and this area therefore offers strong potential for future ecological and behavioral studies. So he seems to be stalking something. I'm guessing he might be looking out for fish, maybe certain crustaceans in the water too. Maybe he's going after like crawfish. There are crawfish in the Prionellurus genus, which is this genus of cat, seems to be quite distinct from, definitely leopards, lions. It's not the Panthera genus, and therefore closely related to fishing cats and leopard cats. Flat-headed cats are believed to subsist most mainly on fish, though there has been no systemic study of their diet. They appear to be largely solitary, like most other cats, with females rearing cubs with no male involvement. They have a very restricted distribution and are only found on the islands of Borneo and Sumatra, as well as the Malaysian peninsula, which includes the very southern point of Thailand. Oh, okay, so they're found over in, Borneo too, so part of Indonesia. Well, that seems to be a healthy individual. Is that it? Okay, well, it's good to see this flat-headed cat. Let's head over to the next article. So from newsweek.com. Fossil from age of dinosaurs reveals new early bird species. Hmm, he does look extremely actually, looking at his feet, they're, mainly his legs, I guess, a bit less so his feet. They're quite, distinct from other bird species, especially how they're positioned. Artist's impression of Navarornis, the new species lived around 80 million years ago. So, this is during the late Campanian stage of the Cretaceous period. Paleontologists have revealed a previously unknown species of early bird following the discovery of a remarkable one-of-a-kind fossil. Prehistoric species named Navarornis hestai lived approximately 80 million years ago before the mass extinction event that wiped out all non-avian dinosaurs, which occurred around 66 million years ago. Oh yeah, you had a wide range of different species of hadrosaur, ductile dinosaurs, horned ceratopsian, and tyrannosaur, dromaeosaur that still had not yet evolved. The fossil specimen, described as exquisitely preserved, was uncovered in 2016 at a site in the locality of Presidente Prudente, Sao Paulo State, Brazil. It has now been described as a new species in a study published in the journal Nature. Remarkably, the complete skull of the bird, which would have been roughly the size of a starling. Oh, okay, so probably only weighing half a pound maybe, or, um, 500 kilograms? I mean, grams. That'd be huge. I don't think even pterosaurs got that big. Yeah, largest as dark, it might have been somewhere around, 200 kilograms or pushing 500 pounds, which with, like, Hatzegopteryx, yeah, well, I don't know, Hatzegopteryx looks like there might have been larger estimations now. Um, definitely maybe the largest Quetzalcoatlus species. I'm talking about the largest pterosaurs, but
When
yeah,
you
not a
said that though, like 500 kilograms?
yeah, that's a bit large, especially for birds. Uh, yeah, even terror birds. Okay, let's keep going. Well, the moa. Okay, the moa would like a word. The elephant bird. So let's see. Remarkably, complete skull of the bird, which would have been roughly the size of a starling, has been preserved intact in 3 dimensions. This kind of preservation is rare for any fossil bird, particularly one this old, making the discovery one of the most significant finds of its kind. Researchers hope the fossil will cast new light on how the unique brains and intelligence of modern birds evolved, an enduring mystery in the field of paleontology. So by the looks of it, this species of bird seems to be going after different species of snails in the region. At least I think that's what that is. And there's some sauropod in the background. Do you know where this was? Oh, this was in Brazil. Well, you had different species of probably titanosaur within Lake Cretaceous, Brazil at this point. It's not very common to find at this part of the Cretaceous. You see sauropods in the background. Now, I mean, it's a bird. Who knows how large those guys are or intended to be? Okay, so, let's see. This fossil is truly so one of a kind that I was awestruck from the moment I first saw it to the moment I finished assembling all the skull bones and the brain, which lets us fully appreciate the anatomy of this early bird. Modern birds have some of the most advanced cognitive capabilities in the animal kingdom, comparable only with mammals. But scientists have struggled to understand how and when the unique brains and remarkable intelligence of birds evolved. The field has been awaiting the discovery of a fossil exactly like this one. A dearth of three-dimensional fossils from the Mesozoic era, a geologic period that lasted from around 252 million years ago to 66 million years ago, has long hindered our understanding of the origin of the distinctive skull and brain of modern birds. But the discovery of Navarronus represents a golden opportunity to glean insights into this evolutionary question, given that it is one of the best preserved bird fossils ever found in the Mesozoic. The extraordinary preservation of the fossil even enabled the researchers to visually reconstruct the bird's skull and brain in remarkable detail. Yeah, many whoa, this is wow, that is really very much intact, especially coming from a late Cretaceous specimen. Many tend to assume that the birds didn't start appearing until after the dinosaurs went extinct. And the truth is that you already had true species of bird that look somewhat like today's, but still a bit distantly related, already appearing in the early Cretaceous period, with their ancestors first appearing around 150 million years ago in the late Jurassic. So I guess you could say birds started appearing somewhere between 140 to 145 million years ago. Okay, anything else? Let's see, real quick. Naviornis fills a roughly 70 million year gap in our understanding of avian brain evolution, which witnessed major changes in the proportions and geometry of the avian brain, culminating in the brains of living birds, which support a level of cognitive prowess and behavioral complexity rivaled only by mammals among living animals. Prior to this find, the knowledge of the evolutionary transition between the brain of the 150 million-year-old Archaeopteryx, so this is that common ancestor of the birds, the earliest bird-like dinosaur in modern birds was practically non-existent. This represents nearly 70 million years of avian evolution in which all the major lineages of Mesozoic birds originated, including the first representatives of the birds that live today. So let's see. Um, hmm. After analyzing the fossil, the researchers found that Naviornis likely had a larger cerebrum, the largest part of the brain, located at the top and front of the skull in Archaeopteryx. Well, I would assume so. This is far after this is what, 60 no, 50, 70 million years, yeah, after Archaeopteryx, so I would think so. However, other evidence suggests that it had not yet evolved the complex flight control mechanisms of modern birds. So it's possible that this bird might not have flown. Interesting. There were other birds in Cretaceous that did.
So basically it would act like a chicken?
That's a hard one. And also, the ancestors chicken, the jungle fowl, was quite arboreal to an extent, hanging out in the trees. Um,
Well, I meant more than they can't actually fly, but they can lift themselves off.
oh, I would guess so, also similar to, like, modern day turkeys, quail. The brain structure of Neveryornis is almost exactly intermediate between Archaeopteryx and modern birds. It's one of these moments in which
Peacocks.
oh, true, yeah, them as well. There's quite a variety of, birds that are like that. Definitely not penguins, they can't lift themselves at all. It was well, unless they dive out of the water, that's it. It was one of these moments in which the missing piece fits absolutely perfectly. Okay, so there's the 3D model of the skull of Neveryornis. Okay. Oh, okay, so the skull of Naviornis appears to be similar to that of a small modern-day pigeon. However, investigations revealed that the species belonged to a group of early birds known as the Antiornithins, or opposite birds. The Antiornithins are a highly diverse group of Mesozoic era birds that went extinct around 66 million years ago, alongside all non-avian dinosaurs. Yeah, it was, thought that the Eantiornithins survived the mass extinction event and would continue to different modern day lineages of birds, but, it's been more agreed upon within our community that they went extinct around 66 million years ago and did not continue their lineage. Okay, oh, that's good to see. Let's head over to next article, or final article. So from the nationalzoo.si.edu. To ensure a future for endangered black-footed ferrets, biologists turn to tracking tech.
I don't know why that just cracked me up.
Yeah, these little guys, they used to cover the Great Plains, and then apparently they were just, overhunted, and there's only a few hundred in existence.
It looks like it's gonna battle a, what's that thing called? Come
Yeah,
on,
oh, yeah.
what's it
I'm
called?
okay.
Yeah,
Yeah, I might bet on the black-footed ferret, right? So, they have very elongated canines. It's quite interesting compared to their skull size when it comes to many species of mammals, even the mustelids themselves. So let's take a, look into what's going on here. One mid-November evening in southeastern Colorado. Yeah, this is in the Great Plains region, so it's adjacent to the state of Kansas, northwestern Oklahoma. Smithsonian research ecologist Jesse Bularis walked across the Heartland Ranch Nature Reserve holding a small animal carrier. He stopped at the entrance of a prairie dog burrow, and upon opening the door, his charge leaped out, a black-footed ferret wearing a specially made tracking collar. It was one of 26 black-footed ferrets born and raised in human care, being reintroduced at the Heartland site through a partnership between the Smithsonian, the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service, Colorado Parks and Wildlife, and the Southern Plains Land Trust, which owns this 43,000-acre property. Also, large area they're reintroducing them to. Since 2022, biologists have released 105 ferrets bred in human care at the Heartland site, but the animals aren't thriving. In fact, despite yearly spotlighting surveys each fall since reintroduction began, scientists hadn't seen many ferrets. This year, they hadn't seen a single one yet. Um, that's not good. Or like eagles and hawks picking them off, or coyotes, foxes. Difficulty in locating reintroduced ferrets could be partially explained by the species' nocturnal and fossorial burrowing natures. They spend most of their lives in prairie dog burrows, and they could be dispersed across the large property. Yeah, there's quite a few species of burrowing mammals, well, reptiles too, but they steal the burrows that were made by other animals. Like, it's common for different species of snakes over in Florida to steal the burrows of armadillo. Let's see.
you know, armadillos burrowed.
Yeah, they'll create small burrows. But Kieran Andriani, the conservation director of SPLT, had a second theory: predators. The Heartland Preserve is home to a wide variety of native grassland species, including large numbers of badgers, coyotes, and swift foxes. all of which are believed to prey on black-footed ferrets. There is a steep and very dangerous learning curve when it comes to predators. The fact that we aren't seeing many ferrets after reintroduction is worrying to us. Are predators the issue here, or are the ferrets just taking off? If the team wanted the wild population to survive, they had to find out where the ferrets are going and what was happening to them post-release. So it looks like here they're doing a health checkup on a specific black-footed ferret.
Do they have him blinded?
Seems that way. The black-footed ferret is one of America's rarest animals and one of its best conservation comeback kids. The species was believed to be completely extinct in the wild. That changed in 1981 when a ranch dog named Shep brought his owners a dead ferret. Most dog owners would prefer not to receive such presents. This ferret marked the turning point in the species' history. Authorities were notified and found the last remaining population of ferrets at Metz, Wyoming, thanks to Shep. Between 1985 and 1986, the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service caught the remaining 18 ferrets to establish a breeding center in Wyoming. Obviously, they do not have a lot of genetic variety, but they exist. In 1988, the National Zoo was the first to receive offspring from the founding generation and thus began the Smithsonian's highly productive black-footed ferret breeding program. In the decade since, more than 10,000 whoa, black-footed ferrets bred under human care have been returned to the wild. Okay, I thought there were many fewer.
He turned
Much fewer.
18 into 10,000?
I I guess they breed pretty well. Wow. Bringing an important player back to the prairie ecosystems in the western Great Plains, including Arizona, Montana, Wyoming, South Dakota, Montana, Colorado, Utah, Kansas, and New Mexico.
They couldn't seem to pull that off with the prairie chicken.
Um, yeah, well, there are also different species of prairie chicken, but yeah, that's quite interesting. Also, all of a sudden, recently, especially the Atwater prairie chicken, which is native to the um, Gulf Coast of the United States in general, not just Texas. So Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, Florida. For a while, they only had a handful of individuals, and it seems like NASA was breeding a small population of yeah, they were breeding a small population of Atwater prairie chickens and the Houston Zoo, and, it seemed to be that they were only reintroducing a handful to, certain protected areas within the Gulf Prairie or Gulf Coast Prairie. But the floods, especially Harvey, took out, um, quite a portion of the population, and now they seem to have grown between, like, 3 to 500, so that's better. So, let's see. Um, Polaris and the Smithsonian's Great Plains science team have studied the lives of black-tailed prairie dogs and black-footed ferrets in Montana since 2023. When tracking most animals, scientists can attach a small tag or collar, which can transmit information to satellites or stand or handheld receivers that show the animal's location. But this technology doesn't work underground where soil disrupts transmission. Oh, I didn't know that. That's interesting. By the way, the prairie chickens in general, they're all species. Let's see. To add to the challenge, the ferret's slender, snake-like bodies make it easy for collars to slip off. Wow. While prairie dogs are prone to chewing off the tracking devices during social grooming sessions. Well, that can complicate things. Working with Swansea University, Belarus and project partners identified specialized tracking devices that could record complex three-dimensional movements in a manner known as dead reckoning. For the first time, researchers could map out in fine detail the movements of animals in the deep, multi-chambered prairie dog burrows. Belarus believes the data will help scientists learn more about the social structures and habitat use of both species, which could in turn improve conservation strategies to protect ferrets and other grassland species. And although the physical challenges of tracking prairie dogs and ferrets are still present, multiple trials in managed settings, and in the field have proven effective. So I guess it's supposed to represent, this specific area in, Colorado? I mean, I don't think there are really any major. This almost looks like the Black Hills over North and South Dakota. Oh, wow. Yep. Well, yeah, they're sharing their burrowing systems with bunnies, jackrabbits or another specific rabbit in the area. Rattlesnakes, those are burrowing owls, quite small. SLPT and CPW observed high numbers of swift foxes, badgers, and coyotes at Heartland, forming the basis of an intriguing research collaboration to identify potential predators of the black-footed ferrets. SPLT and Colorado Parks and Wildlife were already tracking the movements of swift fox and badgers at the ranch, with the potential to track newly reintroduced ferrets using our new tracking technologies. It gave us a unique opportunity to study the movement, ecology, and spatial relations between the three grassland species all at the same time. By being in Colorado instead of Montana, we can learn how different environmental factors that vary across the region impact movement of ecology, behavior, and survival of these animals, which will be critical to their conservation and recovery. This opportunity also gave Valeris the chance to try out another new tracking method. Traditionally, biologists would spend hours driving across the landscape at night, sweeping spotlights in the hope of seeing a ferret above ground. But Polaris could instead use a drone with radio telemetry capabilities and thermal infrared cameras to quickly detect above ground collared animals at a distance. This combination of cutting edge methods he hoped would open new doors to understanding this rare species. Once the ferrets he were released, fired up his drone, took to the skies to see if the system would work. Wow, there's definitely a lot going on here. Yeah, this drone should help out. It didn't take long for the team to start receiving tracking data. The drone, combined with the specialist tracking devices, allowed Polaris to quickly and safely survey large areas and collect important information. Initial data seemed to support one possible concern about the fate of ferrets at SLPT. Just hours after being released, the collared ferrets began to encounter wild predators. Oh, well, that's unfortunate. The predator is doing what they naturally do, but the problem is that the black-footed ferrets are not acclimated to that. They've never had any exposure to these animals, and it's a rough situation for them to be facing so many predators. Although the results might seem disheartening at first, they provide crucial insight into the reality reintroduced species face. One possible solution would be ensuring anti-predator behaviors are strongly ingrained in ferrets before they are released, whether as natural instincts or learned via preconditioning programs. I actually thought that would already be part of the rehabilitation process. Alternatively, additional efforts to ensure newly reintroduced ferrets are released in the wild in places with fewer predators may help these animals get a better start in their new environment. Conservation of endangered species is all about problem solving. There's always a reason why species are imperiled. If it was an easy fix, they wouldn't be endangered in the first place. Our efforts with black-footed ferret conservation are perfect representation of this. It's often 2 steps forward, 1 step back. Despite the challenges, Belarus is optimistic for the recovery of the species and grassland ecosystems more broadly. And this release was a full circle moment for Belarus, as several of the ferrets reintroduced in Colorado were born from the Smithsonian's breeding program in Front Royal, Virginia. Wow. So, just like certain larger species of mammals, they're even transporting these ferrets all the way from the eastern United States and Virginia to the, prairies of eastern Colorado, so that's quite interesting. When it comes to black-footed ferrets, we have a unique opportunity to be involved in the full picture of recovery from start to finish, from birth to survival in the wild. Our Smithsonian team's expertise in animal management and reproductive biology combines with our Great Plains Science Program's expertise in advanced field research to synergistically improve the conservation and recovery of this endangered species. It is incredibly rewarding to see this all-encompassing approach to conservation come together. This individual was like, "Yes, I'm good."
That was funny.
And he's like, "No badgers here or coyotes. I saw a rattlesnake, but, he's wandered off, slithered off." Okay, phew. I am,
That was a
glad that
long article.
yeah, these black-footed ferrets are going to have, or be better off now in this specific area of Colorado.
I still can't get past they got 18 of them, 10,000. They had to find some more somewhere else.
Maybe they did. It's very possible, and it is a considerable amount of time. I don't know how many pups or kittens black-footed ferrets have at once, so that's another question. Also, how often can they breed? And, so just how many in their lifetime, so that's a big question.
There's gonna be some exhausted mothers.
Yeah, definitely. I also don't know specifically, like, how long they take care of, for their pups as well. What is the what's the other thing that's not hitting me? Um,
Well, if it's not hitting you, I'm gonna have no idea.
yeah, I think I might have been confusing with another species of mustelid or ferret, badger. So, this was quite interesting. Wow. Just trying to see, what was that other thing? Wasn't the bear break-in, um, something about with the woolly rhi oh, yeah, that woolly rhino thing with the preserved tissue inside that, um, Ice Age wolf mummy's stomach. That's interesting.
That was
Like,
funny because when you were reading that, for some reason, I kept thinking that the wolf was inside of the woolly rhino.
yeah, um, yeah, I could see somebody confusing that, but, yeah, that was quite interesting considering there wasn't any change in the inbreeding status, and rhinos seemed perfectly fine in their overall, genetics, and all of a sudden it just disappears. Which is why I think what probably happened was that there was a major, ecosystem change, and the rhino just couldn't adapt. So, that's quite interesting. Let's see, were there any others? Trying to think. Oh, the albino raccoon, was quite interesting.
I wish we would've got a close-up of him.
Yeah, I was expecting them, like, really only occurring further north, but apparently they can happen over in Texas as well. And then, so yeah, these Colorado ferrets, there was something else. It wasn't a deer. Trying to think, not that prehistoric bird. Did we see 2 cougars that occurred? Oh, yeah, what happened to this pterodactyl, or both of them, that was unfortunate. Very well preserved skeleton, though. I mean, that was great. Um, so thank you for watching, and for Prehistoric Present, my name is Ethan. This is Creature Guy Live Daily News. Remember to like, comment, subscribe if you love talking about animals, and share this show with everyone you know, because nothing is better than all animals all the time.
Our
Oh,
screen froze right at the end.
oh, that's strange.